This is the Headbanger's Almanac. Welcome to the Headbangers Almanac. My name is Will. As a self-proclaimed metalhead, I am morally obligated to review albums, so here we are. Delving into the metal archives, we find Maule's self-titled album. The boys from Vancouver set out to make a new wave of British heavy metal album and put out this guy on January 14th. It consists of 9 tracks and is 38 minutes, 27 seconds long, with 5 of these tracks coming from their 2019 demo, From Hell. The sound is very much the offspring of Iron Maiden and Metallica, so they capture that early 80s vibe perfectly, but vocally we're getting more of the latter, as Jacob Wheel gives us this sort of yelling in tune delivery that is reminiscent of early thrash. And at times, I even catch a note of Paul Di'Anno. The criticisms I've read cite a lack of innovation, but I say fuck them. Sometimes you just want a good drinkable bourbon. You don't necessarily want to fret about the complexities of influences or innovations. You just want to fucking jam out. And as far as I'm concerned, there's enough personal touches in here to avoid being called a carbon copy of their influences. They may have followed a recipe, but I can certainly see the merits of doing so on your first major outing. It allows the listeners to get a feel for what Maule is capable of, and gives Maule the time to flesh out an identity should they choose to expand on it. Hell, I wouldn't even be mad if this was really what Maule intended to bring to the table in the future as well. You see, no matter how much I protest, I'm technically a millennial, and the early ones tend to be nostalgic for the era that came before it, and I'm no different. Better yet is I have a brother that's 10 years my senior, and he grew up listening to this kind of shit. And that's my first thought, pointing my brother in the direction of this album, having a beer with him, and talking about the days of yore. Summoner is likely my pick, as it was the closest thing to the titular track from the demo. Titular. To me, it represents the band at their finest, when all cylinders are firing. Maule is another prime example of this, and it's hard to ignore the track that shares the name with the album and the band. Much like Sir Lord Baltimore, the magic happens in the high-tempo, 4-minute bangers. The boys may be aware of this because the obligatory mid-tempo tracks show up at the end of the album. It's actually the first time I noticed a stumble, as Father Time falls just a little short for me, but I really can't pinpoint why. But it's enough to dock a point, so let's see what we come up with. With some quick trunken maths, this brings us to 4.45 pentagrams. As always, you can find a link to the band's Bandcamp in the description below. Like, comment, and subscribe, and all that happy shit. And lastly, have fun, guys.